Before we continue with the video, I want to talk to you guys about today's video sponsor, anythingfootball.net. You'll be able to find the link to anythingfootball.net in the description down below, and as you scroll through the website you will see how many great football boots they have from a load of different top brands. And honestly, some of these football boots are absolutely stunning. They're genuinely works of art. And I'll put some examples on screen here. You can see just how nice some of these boots are. They really are stunning. But if you want to check them out for yourself, then use the link in the description down below and head to anythingfootball.net. Now back to the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where we are back talking about Manchester United, this time in the Europa League, and their narrow 1-0 win over Omonia. And I'll be completely honest, the style of this video is going to be a little bit different to how we typically do these videos. Now, normally I will talk to you about how Manchester United beat said team. I'm going to do it a little bit differently for this, because I think we all expected that United would win. That was kind of the bare minimum, no disrespect to Omonia, the opponent. So rather than talking about how United won, because it wasn't necessarily a tactical masterclass, I want to talk about some of the players that impressed me, some of the players that let me down a little bit. But also we will start with a couple of the Ten Hag tactics. And in terms of what we saw early on in the game, Omonia tried to press a little bit up the pitch. They tried to put Manchester United under a bit of pressure. But with their lack of players in forward areas, United found it very easy, to build up in a 3-2 shape like this. Very easy to get through the press, and that was kind of only really the first 15 minutes we saw that. After that, Omonia sort of realised, okay, there's not really any point in pressing. And as a result, it allowed United to take control, and that was the pattern set for the rest of the game. United were going to dominate possession to a very drastic extent. It was a case of, can they break them down? And to do this, United used initially a 2-3 shape like this, with Dalot and Malacia both playing very narrow, either side of Casemiro. Rashford was holding the width on the left, Antony on the right, Fernandes in this pocket on the right, which was really good to see, Fred on the left, and then Ronaldo up front. And I think people are going to look at this, kind of look at the full-time result and say, United won 1-0 against a very average opponent. They probably didn't play very well. But I don't think that was the case. I think this was one of the best Manchester United performances, the most complete performances on the ball I've seen in a long time. United just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. It was one of those nights. The keeper was fantastic. So people will look at it, particularly opposition fans or just cynical people, and say United weren't that good because they only won 1-0. Personally, I don't think that is the case. I thought the way that United played was much better than what we've seen in the past. And it started with this 2-3 shape. And I think perhaps the criticism I want to give is at times a lack of intensity in certain areas of the pitch and decision making. In terms of the shape United was set up right, they got lots of players in forward areas. We can see kind of all 5 channels across the attack being covered. Plenty of players in the centre of the pitch as well. Time for the centre-backs on the ball. The issue was then certain decisions and the tempo at times. And the area in particular where I would like to see United improving is down the right-hand side with Antony and Dalot. Now, when we look at the left-hand side, we often see Shaw and Rashford, particularly over the last 4 years in general. Those two have had a very good link-up, a very good understanding. Now, of course, a lot of that comes from the fact that they have played with each other a lot. But when we then look at Dalot and Antony down the right-hand side, they don't seem to have the same dynamic. Antony does a lot of work going towards his own goal to help out Dalot. In a game like this, Dalot didn't do quite enough going forward to help out Antony. And as I was saying the other day, it is a two-way street. If Antony's helping defend, then Dalot's got to help going forward. He kind of done it at times, but there was also still a lot of situations where Antony finds himself getting the ball with no one really to pass to. And especially if the ball comes at him like this, the left wing-back of Omonia was very happy to be quite aggressive and tight on him, right up against him, stopping Antony from turning. And at times in the first half, this did result in Antony just being kind of forced to play the ball backwards. So I thought we could have seen something better from there. In terms of down the left-hand side, I thought it was much better, and Malacia done a good job of timing the overlap round Rashford, also sometimes inverting, particularly if Fred would drop deep, Malacia would then push forward. But like I said, there were times Rashford was allowed narrow because of Malacia's overlap, and I thought the dynamic down this side was much better, and Marcus Rashford was absolutely electric. Now, again, the cynics will look at it and say he had chances to score and he didn't take them, which I do agree with, he should have scored. But it's okay as long as you're getting in those positions. Eventually the goals come, right? This was just one of those nights where, for one reason or another, it was just one of those nights that you get in football where he couldn't score. Ronaldo had it last week against Omonia. This time it's Rashford's turn. But what I would say, his dribbling, his movement with the ball and without the ball was absolutely electric. And what I like about him more than anything at the moment is the confidence he's playing with. Last season, there was a spell where he really didn't look like he was enjoying playing football. That's not the case right now. This guy looks absolutely electric. He's smiling after his misses because he just knows that he's going to get another chance. And that's an excellent sign to have as a footballer. He has a lot of confidence in his own ability at the moment, and it's showing in the way that he plays. These Omonia defenders were terrified of getting close to him because his acceleration from a standing start is frightening. And if I'm Militic in the defence, I can't deal with Rashford's pace. Not many defenders can. So Rashford is absolutely electric at the moment. And that was kind of United's story of the first half. A little bit slow down the right-hand side. Down the left-hand side, really electric. Really electric, but a lack of quality with any final ball or final shot. Things like that. So United went in at half-time 0-0.
I am just going to quickly interrupt because we do have another sponsor for today's video. And that is jerseyfifa.com. The website you need to head to right away to get yourself the latest and greatest football shirts, all at an extremely affordable price. The link will be in the description below, so head there right away to get yourself a great shirt, again at a great price. Now back to the video.
Overall, I thought that United actually had a good half of football. It wasn't the best we've ever seen, but they did create good chances, and more importantly, they dominated and controlled the game. Now, yes, you can throw it at my face and say it was Omonia, without being disrespectful. We know United should beat these teams. But United don't always control these games. Over the past 5 seasons, there have been a lot of games that United should have controlled on paper, but they haven't, for one reason or another. So to see United actually control a game, really dictate a game, and pin a team into their own defensive third, while still moving the ball at a decent tempo and creating chances was really good to see. But regardless, we did see a slight change in the second half. However, to start the half, the personnel was the same. It was more the build-up structure that changed, and it came from Casemiro at times dropping out wide to one side of the centre-backs, at times in between, and the same from Fred. So United were now building in a bit more of a 3-1, and we saw the fullbacks pushing much higher up the pitch. Dalot in particular was now much higher than what he had been in the first half. I'm just aware of putting players behind me. Now what this new shape for United done was it meant that the wingers could come inside, of course with the fullbacks getting round, and now rather than having a bank of 5 across the front line, which we had in the first half, there's now a bank of 6. And that really is needed when you play against a back 5. Because what we can see is it gives the players channels to work in. If we put it like this, we can see Dalot's got outside of the wing-back, Antony's got in between the wing-back and the centre-back, Fernandes is between 2 centre-backs, Ronaldo's between 2 centre-backs, Rashford is between the wing-back and the centre-back, and then Malacia on the left-hand side is on the outside of the wing-back. And this was the shape that United were using, and as the half went on, they were getting more and more and more attacking. United were throwing so many men forward, and like physically, to keep this kind of clear for you guys to see, I can't push all the players as high as I would need to. The centre-backs for United were so high, even De Gea had quite a high starting position, and it was a case of United really pinning them in. But I think what was lacking was intelligence. This was something I was talking about Christian Eriksen really brings to the team, is intelligence on the ball. And he weren't in the starting 11, and I thought it showed a little bit at times, because what United are doing is they get into areas like this, and then they float across into the box to players that are marked. And then from here, for example, Bruno Fernandes might drop deep and try a little chipped pass over here. Those sort of passes, the area you're passing into, the opposition literally have 3 centre-backs, plus at times 3 midfielders, plus a keeper who had a really good game. You can't float those crosses in unless the player is unmarked. It's such a difficult area to try and create a chance into, because it's the most aggressively defended area of the pitch. So to float a ball into an aggressively defended area, it doesn't really work. And I thought someone like Bruno Fernandes was a little bit guilty of that at times, as was Dalot. United just need a bit more intelligence on the ball in those situations to realise that a floated cross isn't going to work when the player is marked. A floated cross up towards Rashford against the centre-back is always going to win that, especially when they were as defensively minded as they were. There were lots of players in these areas. I thought that was what United lacked. Regardless, they did still keep attacking. Fred kept pushing even higher. Casemiro pushed higher, had a couple of half chances. But it's intelligence. United were getting into absolutely brilliant positions. In terms of from Ten Hag's point of view, he set the team up very well. They had chances down the left-hand side, chances down the right-hand side, players across in the front six, still the numbers in the middle of the pitch to progress the ball forward. It's just a case of intelligence with shooting decisions and when to cross it. And actually, just quickly on shooting decisions, as a United fan, I was becoming incredibly frustrated because United would get themselves in situations where they would build down the left-hand side. We know that Ten Hag likes to do this. It drags the opposition over a little bit. It drags the whole defence across like this. United would build possession and then they'd quickly work the ball out the other side to someone like Bruno Fernandes here. Antony would be inside, and Dalot was the player that kept getting ignored with his overlapping runs. Whilst Dalot I think didn't have his greatest game, was a bit sloppy at times, some of his runs off the ball were absolutely brilliant and I cannot believe they were ignored. And again it comes down to player intelligence. The whole Omonia defence would be shifted across to the right hand side, the ball would come out to the left, and we can see Dalot down here. I know I'm in the way a little bit. There is no Omonia defenders behind here. There's one near Antony, but there's no one near Dalot. Dalot had so much room where if he had received the pass, he would have been able to step onto it and put a first time wicked ball kind of across into this danger area where the keeper can't come out and get it and the centre backs can't drop and get it. But instead we saw Fernandes shooting from here, we saw McTominay come on for Casemiro, we saw McTominay shooting from these sort of areas. It's just decision making and intelligence on the ball. United worked the perfect scenario. This happened, from what, like off the top of my head, I can remember 3 times that this happened. United built the possession really well down the left hand side, moved it to this right channel here, where Fernandes was playing for once, which was good to see. Dalot had so much room out wide. He had so much room out wide and didn't receive the pass, and it was so frustrating because it's just intelligence in those big moments. If you think of players like at Manchester City, or even at Arsenal, players at Liverpool, this ball would get worked wide because it's so clear that this player is in so much space. And like I said, Dalot could have put the ball into that literal perfect danger area, where Ronaldo would have been sniffing out the chances and hopefully Rashford would have been in the back post. So, I think from that perspective, Ten Hag set the team up right. No criticism of Ten Hag, he had it literally perfect. United created a hatful of opportunities, but they didn't necessarily turn them all into chances because they were missing certain passes. So here United have got an opportunity, but it doesn't end up in a chance because the shot is taken from a stupid angle, a stupid position. But they had the opportunity, which is Ten Hag's job, to work the opportunities. It's then up to these players to create the chance. So things like that were a little bit disappointing, just decision making on the ball. However, we eventually saw a couple of substitutes. Jadon Sancho came onto the pitch, Luke Shaw came onto the pitch, and as we've already seen, McTominay came onto the pitch. What I found interesting here was how United's shifted system, or more the positions of certain players, I should say. Bruno Fernandes now moved to essentially be the right winger but playing tucked in. Sancho done the same on the left. Rashford came into this pocket up front with Ronaldo. And we can see just how crowded and congested it was. This doesn't even get close to kind of showing how crowded it was actually in-game. But I thought Jadon Sancho and Luke Shaw came on and really impressed. They brought a real intensity and drive and aggression on the ball, but also runs off the ball as well. They were very keen to get at this defence. It's something that I've criticised Sancho for recently. Perhaps he saw the video because he really kind of went on the opposite of that in this game. Every time he got the ball, he was looking to take players on, and it was really good to see. And hopefully he kind of learned from this because it was for this reason that United were able to get the last minute winner. So Jadon Sancho has the ball here. We can see Luke Shaw's made the underlapping run. In the past weeks, Sancho would have played this a little bit safe and probably kind of gone at his man a little bit, then checked back and passed the ball to Christian Eriksen. That's a pattern that we see a bit too often. But he doesn't do that, which is great to see. He gets at his man, he gets into the box. Now here, this is where I was really impressed, because he kind of drove his man back towards into his own box. We can see just how congested it was. Here, typically, this ball gets laid to Eriksen. But no, Sancho was aggressive with it. He turned his man, worked some space in the box, cut the ball across for Scott McTominay in the middle here, who done really well to take a touch, get the ball out of his feet, and then put it into the back of the net. And there can't be any arguments. It was thoroughly deserved from Manchester United. Like, United so clearly deserved to win this game. They had a lot of opportunities, a lot of chances. And yeah, overall, I think it was a good performance from Manchester United. I think Erik ten Hag would have learned a lot as well, which is perhaps the most important thing moving forward for the long term. But yeah, I thought it was a good display. There just needs to be better decision making in certain areas. Don't shoot from 40 yards when there is a player on the right wing completely unmarked. Just have a bit of intelligence. Don't float crosses into the box when there's about 100 centre-backs there against one striker. It's just decision making and intelligence on the ball, but that is something that hopefully United can work on, Ten Hag can work on. Hopefully we see it. We'll have to wait and see whether that happens. United will face bigger tests this season, but it was good to see United playing like a top side. Controlling the ball, making the pitch big, creating opportunities, creating chances. It was good to see. Hopefully we see it continue. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think United were poor to only win 1-0? Do you think they were good and just didn't take their chances? Who impressed you? Who let you down a little bit? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.